pjnet.tv, part 2. It's 9:30 on the East Coast. And we are streaming live. We are recording. We have a bumper run. And we have a chat room waiting. We have our guest waiting. And we are syncing up all streams. And they are. We'll switch to Studio 8 in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Well, good evening and welcome back to pjnet.tv. We are about to take a trip around the Cross W. His brand is his brand. In fact, I'm going to ask JD about that because I happen to know that he spent some time branding. He's getting his props ready for us. Okay. JD, this was totally unscripted, but you now have a generation of your own stock from the Cross W, and your branding technique. There's something new out there. It's not taking a red hot piece of iron and smacking it to their hide and scalding it like it used to.
Oh no, sir. I just refuse to be inhumane to one of God's creatures. And I'll show it to you here if I can get it up there. Mm-hmm. That is all brass, and that is a freeze branding iron. And the way freeze branding works is you take and mix up a slurry solution of dry ice and denatured alcohol. It cools that brass down to about 300 degrees below Fahrenheit. And you shave the area where you can brand our calves in this case. You shave that, and then you apply that freeze branding iron to them for about 40 seconds. Doesn't hurt them. They just stand there and look stupid, like really? Cows do. Mm-hmm. And it leaves a beautiful little imprint, very clean, very crisp. But what it's actually doing, and then you kind of tap it, when you pull the iron off, make sure that it's nice and hard. Mm-hmm. And what's actually happening is the freeze branding iron freezes the hair follicles beneath the carcass. So when the hair grows back that you just shaved off, when that grows back, every place where the hair follicles were frozen, the hair grows back white. So on my red Angus cows and Herefords with the red hair, they'll have a nice white hairy brand, very clean, very distinct. I'll show pictures of it when it grows out. It'll take them a month or two to grow out. But I'll be sure to post some pictures of that. But that's freeze branding. And again, there's no pain associated with it. It takes about 40 seconds. Of course, it takes a few minutes in between to cool the iron back down. So, if you're going to run, 200 head of cattle, you might want to use an electric branding iron or something, because you'd be there all day long. But, when you're just a small rancher like I am, the extra time is well worth it not to stress out or cause any harm to those animals. So yes, sir, that's my freeze brand, and we're excited to brand the first ones that both dam and sire, or mama and daddy, mm-hmm. were from the Cross W ranch. So this is the first generation of pure D Cross W beef, and we're excited to put our brand on that.
Well, you should be, and
thank you, sir.
Okay, well, JD blogs each Wednesday at jdwininger.com. And your blog this week I read with some fascination. But beyond what the blog says itself is you get a lot of comments on these things.
Yes, sir. I average about 50 comments a week on my blog. And I can only thank God for it. I've got wonderful followers and friends that read my blog and post to it. But it amazes me that of all the subscribers that I have, and we won't go into numbers too much, but about 60% of them on average open up and actually click the link mm-hmm. to go read my blog or to mm-hmm. go now listen to my blog. Mm-hmm. I love the new PJNet transcription service that we're trialing right now. That's getting a lot of good comments and things. We appreciate that. But when 6 out of 10 people take the time to read it, that day, that's a pretty good click-through rate, I think. And then to see about 40% of the subscribers comment on my blog, so I have real good what I call engagement. I don't know the technical term for it, but they read it, they comment on it, they take something from it, and that's always a blessing. But I credit that with just developing. They're not just a follower, they're not a platform, they're not a number, they're a person, and I make an effort to get to know each and every one of them, and try to know their family, and understand with them, and pray with them, and laugh with them, and cry with them sometimes, Coach. And I think that's what God wants me to do. It may not be to have a million screaming fans. I'm not the Beatles after all. I'm just Bubba. But to have people that value what I do, and I'm a little different from most, I reckon, but they find value and God's wisdom in the words that I try to share.
Well, you're like me, JD. It gives meaning to my life to give meaning to someone else's life.
Oh, absolutely. When you read a comment and I needed that today, or I'm facing surgery myself. I got a wonderful email from a dear woman in Iowa this morning. Said, I've just made the decision to do hip surgery in September. And you talked about FUD, and I sure understand that, Mr. JD. I'm going through all those very same thoughts and fears and whatnots right now, and just to be able to pray with her, and I promised to keep her on the prayer list, and not just for her and her family, but the doctors and the caregivers, they need our prayer too, that they listen and allow the Holy Spirit to guide them in their decision making when they're working on us, So that's a blessing when I'm able to interact with friends like that.
Well, I know that when I am intercessing for someone undergoing surgery or any kind of medical attention, I pray specifically for the care providers. I don't know if that doctor or that nurse or that CNA or that phlebotomist, I don't know if they know Jesus Christ or not. But I know this. True. God directs things. God, exactly. The Bible is full of history of God using pagan leaders to accomplish His will. So it doesn't. I don't want to say it doesn't concern me. It does, but it matters not that they're an unbeliever. God shoots straight with crooked arrows. God uses talking jackasses, and it's a good thing. So,
yes, sir.
He's doing it right now.
I'm living proof of it, Coach. But I've been on an operating table 5 times in my life, Coach, and I've never had the occasion, as they're prepping and they're doing things, and just last Tuesday, oops, the IV is blown out, so we got to stick him again and do another IV in a different part of his body. No, that's no good. That one collapsed. It took them like 4 tries to get another IV started in the OR. And I'm going, y'all need help, But they basically, I've never had the occasion when I've said, guys, let's say a prayer before we get this show on the road, I've never had an occasion where somebody said, oh, no, let's not do that, They've always bowed their head, and they've always prayed with me. Yeah. And, well, I'm still here, Coach. God ain't done with me yet.
Your blog is about pouring out.
Yes, sir. And I've always thought, well, I shouldn't say I've always thought, but since becoming a Christian coach, I came to the conclusion that my life is like a cup. God fills it up, I pour it out, He fills it up again. So He's constantly filling and refilling, and it's just a cyclical thing. And I think that's great, but now that I'm getting a little older and I'm getting a little closer, as you like to call it, Coach, I'm in that 4th quarter of the game, and I'm starting to realize, at some point, all that pouring is going to be over. Mm-hmm. And Lord, just I ask one thing, Lord, and that's that when you're done with me, when my time is over, that there ain't a drop left in my cup. I don't want
Mhm.
to. I don't want to go to heaven with anything left, Coach. I just want to pour it all out. But we had some delays here in the procedure last Tuesday afternoon. And started out eight in the morning. I got to set out in front of the hospital in the parking lot, and the little gals come out, and I stick my arm out the window of the pickup truck, and she sticks me and pulls 3 vials of blood because they've got to do COVID testing before they'll let you come into the
Mhm.
hospital.
Mhm.
So I did that and come back home, went back about lunchtime, and delays here for more blood work, and then more delays for more x-rays, and then they take me up to the room. So this isn't an outpatient procedure anymore. They've already assigned me a room, and get up there, and they IVs and all the nonsense, and all the paperwork and everything, consents and yada yadas. And then I'm just laying there, and I'm laying there for almost 2 hours, Coach. This should have
Mm.
happened an hour earlier, but things happen, and doctors are on call, and emergencies happen. We understand that, but I'm laying there in the bed, and what better time than just meditate with the Father, right? So I'm just praying and just talking with God, just communing with Papa, right? And of course, it's summer in Texas, so it's pretty hot and dry. But all of a sudden, I started hearing rain drops pelting the window next to my bed. And immediately, Matthew 5 and 45 popped into my head. And I'm not really sure why, but it did. And, just to paraphrase that, the sun rises and the rain falls on both the just and the unjust.
Mhm.
And I said, okay, Lord, I got you. And I sure thank you for this good rain. The grass needs it. It's getting a little crispy out there across W. And he goes, think about that. The rain's falling on both the just and the unjust. Yes, sir. He said, well, you do the same thing. You just pour it out. I don't want you to just pour it out anymore. I want you to pour it into others. And ouch, that kind of hurt. But, sometimes the Holy Spirit needs to convict us. And what he was showing me is that I can get all wrapped up in the busyness of life and busyness of being a Christian author, and I'm on CBN, and I've had 3 books published, and I've got these things, and all these wonderful accolades and everything, and I'm so busy doing, being JD, and
Mhm.
doing things, but am I really just pouring it out through busyness, or
Mhm.
am I pouring the lessons God has taught in my life into somebody else?
Mhm.
Am I helping to disciple the young Christians or the immature Christians that are struggling to find their way? Am I reaching back? And our friend Del Didway does the same thing. Am I reaching back to that author that's just starting out and just trying to learn the ropes and understand the world of publishing and things like that? Am I giving back? Am I pouring myself and my wisdom and gained knowledge and understanding into them? Or am I
Mhm.
just throwing it out there and taking the shotgun method? Hope some of it will stick, right? Or
Mhm.
what we call this, we're spitballing, right? Some of them will stick to the wall. And so we can do better than that. And that's what I felt God was showing me. So it's funny because you always take those lessons. But what was funny is the little nurse comes in, and she's checking my IV, and they put the little fluid in there, and you taste that metallic taste in your mouth, so
Mhm.
they flush the IV out. And I go, yeah, it's working. I can taste it. But I'm sitting there, and she says, well, don't be afraid, honey. It's going to be okay. And I'm going, huh? And I didn't realize it, but tears were coming down. And she said, well, aren't you afraid? You're crying. I went, no, ma'am. I'm just happy. I'm talking with Papa.
Mhm.
And she kind of looked at me. I'm talking to God right now. So she turned the light out and left me alone. But it's wonderful. I call them heart hugs, Coach. When
Mhm.
God comes so close, and he lets you climb up in his lap, and he just wraps you up, and you kind of bury your head in his chest.
Well, he was about to say, bury your head in his chest. He's talked about God hugs before. It's funny, we were talking before we went on the air. They just had the internet guy come out, and it turned out that their battery backup system was to blame. What I'm going to do is I'm going to reset that connection, and I see something is back. There we are. We lost you at the point of the God hug. You put your head in Abba's chest, and okay.
I'm going to reboot, Coach.
Okay. Well, we can see you now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so I won't reboot then, Coach.
Right. You're kind of froze, but yeah, it just went blink, and I was thinking, I thought they fixed that.
Interesting. Yeah, I've got a split screen. I'm frozen on one side. I'm working on the other side.
Well, that's you've got a split personality sometimes, and but no, you
yes,
were
sir.
you were where we lost you. You were relaying about the God hug.
Yes, sir. Heart hugs are just special, Coach. As I liken them, I get to crawl up in Daddy's lap, and he just puts him big old strong arms around me, and I lean into him and put my head on his chest, and I can hear his mighty heartbeat. And while I'm doing that, he reaches into my chest and he hugs my heart, and he tells me it's going to be okay, boy. And I tell you, that is just such a peaceful feeling. You're filled with such peace and such joy and such love, Coach. I hope everybody gets to experience that once in this lifetime. Once you do, you're going to become addicted to it, and you'll never want them to stop.
You know, JD, when you were talking about, pouring out and pouring in, I was reflecting on my own life. We are all the product of more mature Christians pouring into us. And I was reflecting back on some of the people, looking back over your shoulder. Does some people come to mind that poured into you?
Oh, yes, sir. If you look back right, there's a beautiful, dear, sweet lady right there, and that's Mama. That's my adopted mom, Teresa Marcella Legia Adams, from Chicopee, Massachusetts. And Ma adopted me, her dad, into the family when I was 14 years old. And until then, I never truly knew what love was. And I never truly understood what being a Christian meant. And they modeled love. They modeled agape, Christian love, throughout their family. And the brothers, there's Ray and Paul that were still at home and working at the station with me there at the family service station. And, Dick was off in seminary, and Susie was up in Massachusetts getting married and having babies. But, to see how Dad modeled Christian ethics as a Christian business person, mm-hmm. and to see how he modeled love and compassion, the same love and compassion that Christ tried to show. Dad didn't retire a rich man by any means. When you look at that and apply that to worldly standards, Coach, but I think he's one of the richest men in the world. He can't get out of the house now. He's there in Bartow, and they can't get out of the house anymore now, and he just can't go. But I promised him tonight when I was talking to him on the phone that I would make sure that I connect to his computer tomorrow and set him up so that he can go watch church services at his Methodist church on Sunday morning. So he can do that from his bedroom. And he's excited about that. Of course, we got talking about Miss Bonnie Allen, and she's the choir director, and she's bless her heart, she's got to be getting close to 70 now. But just a maybe older than that, because God, I'm getting too close to that. Anyway, but just one of those, she was like Miss Jackie Anders, just always smiling, one of those joy-filled people. Her daughter and I went to school together, and then unfortunately she was lost to Hodgkin's disease back before they were able to develop the cures and the protocols to deal with that. But to see the people that still come by the family auto repair shop now, it's no longer a service station, but to see those people that have traded with my family for almost 50 years, 3 generations of us have worked at that station and served that little community as auto mechanics and things, and to see how they've poured into so many others. The young fellows that would come work for my dad and mom, and I'll always remember how Mom always gave us a pay envelope. She'd go to the bank Friday morning and draw out cash, and she'd give us cash payments in an envelope. But we never got paid without a hug and a thank you. And that was something, and you never forget some of those life lessons. But when I look back at my life and I see the people that have poured into me, the Ron Longiatis, and that taught me the importance of iron sharpens irons, or Proverbs 27:17, who I worked with at Northrop Grumman, and some of these folks, Coach, I'm the most blessed man in the world. It's funny. I prayed from the time I just a young fella for a godly wife that would be my friend and my companion and my helper. And it took me twice to get it right, because we do things our way and not God's way sometimes, and God has to work to get us back on the right path. But I'll never forget 1997 when I met this beautiful woman I call my bride now. It was funny because I sat down just about a week after I met her for the first time. I sat down and wrote the poem God's Gift, because that's exactly what she is to me. God gifted me with Miss Diane, and that makes me the luckiest guy in the world, Coach. I'm sure you feel the same way about your Miss Renee.
We don't deserve it. I'll say that.
Oh,
and
sir.
Now
that's for sure.
My story is a little different. I set a goal. It's funny because I grew up 2 houses down from what is now my wife and never paid any attention to her growing up. One day
she's too busy playing football.
That is exactly right. I had the opportunity one time to speak from the pulpit, and it was on Father's Day. Well, a lot of these Father's Day and Mother's Day, all the days, the sermons are kind of the same. I mean, how do you preach another Christmas sermon? Another Sunday school lesson, Bible study. I mean, they're hard. They really are, because everybody is already familiar with it. There's not a whole lot new that you can say. Well, I did things a little different, and I said, there are many fathers here, and many of them have had an impact in my life, and it's very much like your blog today. They poured in. So I just started enumerating some of the people, the men in that church that were fathers, that fathered me spiritually along the way. And I'll never forget Dr. Sledge. He was the local dentist. And where I'm from, the people that teach 4th grade boys have been doing that all their life and will do it all their life. So when you came up, you were under the tutelage of, in the 4th grade, it was, Dr. Sledge. In the 5th grade, it was Dude Bishop. And then in the 6th grade, it was Kelly, so I'm just kind of walking through chronologically and paying tribute, sincere tribute to these people who fathered me spiritually along the way. And it was Dr. Sledge that was more than any other responsible for my salvation. And it was not profound. It was a very little thing. And we don't know sometimes how the little things we do, how important they are. It can be either bad or good. But I remember sitting in his Sunday school class, and he was a dentist. And at that time, there was a lot of emphasis on evangelism. So in my little mind, I thought, if I become a Christian, I've got to become a preacher. And I just couldn't, I couldn't fathom that. I couldn't handle that. In that Sunday school class, he said, I'm a dentist, but I am a Christian, and I do God's work as a dentist. And I thought, I don't have to be a preacher. That Sunday, I walked down the aisle.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay, because that was that little hurdle. It was a little stumbling block, not that high. But Satan conflated that thing. My arm disappeared. But let me assure you this: Dr. Sledge did those things. See, a few years later, when I'm a young adult, I take my first mission trip to Barbados. First mission trip I'd ever been on. He and I went down to Barbados, and he does a free dental clinic for the residents down there. Gotcha. And he's literally using his gifts, his talent, and his time. The 3 T's. You ever heard of those?
Yes, sir. I remember them.
Your time and your treasure. He walked the walk. So he's not just that was one of the better sermons that I've ever been involved in. I mean, I've got some pretty good theological stuff, but that one got more of a emotional reaction. It was all hometown folks. I mean, I grew up, I hope that in pouring in, I hope that all of us, one, do that. Number two, I hope that we get the blessing of having some young man or young woman say some little thing you did. You may not remember it. It may be so insignificant, right, or you thought it was insignificant. Hopefully we'll be blessed to hear those words, but more importantly, and I can assure you of this, one day we'll hear Daddy say, "Well done, my
good and faithful servant." Amen.
That's the reward, and that's eternal.
Yes, sir.
That keeps going on and on and on. So, anyway, good stuff.
But the lesson that I hope came out in my blog this week, Coach. Yes, we all experience flood or fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Satan always does his best to knock us off our game, because the less time we spend in Daddy's lap, less time we spend seeking and receiving those heart hugs, then the more effective Satan thinks he is. He can't take us. He can't snatch me out of God's hand, but he can sure make life pretty miserable, as I'm waiting until that day. So FUD can affect all of us, but I really walked out of that hospital about 10 o'clock that night. I walked out just feeling great and praising God because of the lesson that I learned. And I guess maybe just a farmer in me is, yes, sir, it rains on the whole county. And some of us, it just doesn't rain onto the ground in some places. In other places, it brings that nourishment. It feeds the seeds that we've got in the ground that brings a harvest, right? And my job as a farmer and my job as a Christian is synonymous in that my job is to plant seeds, Coach. Mm-hmm. God brings the rain, through me, but if I don't pour it into those people that I've planted the seeds in, God may never realize the harvest. Mm-hmm. So I just urge my Christian brothers and sisters to don't get so lost in the busyness of doing this for the church and doing that for the church and doing this for the family and doing that and always just staying so very busy that you forget that you need to take time for yourself and you need to nourish yourself. Give us this day our daily bread, right? And, we can't live on bread alone. We need the living water too. And, as Casting Crowns like to say, you got to come to the well now and again. And so just don't concern yourself with how often you're pouring out, but think more about the quality of what you're pouring into somebody else. Please, folks.
Good thought, JD. Good thought. And, I'm struggling with something, not struggling, but I'm grappling. Whatever the word is, I'm working my buns off on a project, and I can't get enough rest. I'm not able to sleep. When I try to sleep, I can't. I've been through these development cycles. They're not new to me, and I knew going in it would be hard, but it dawned on me today that I'm suffering from fatigue, and you can't write a computer program in a fatigued state. It takes a lot of concentration. And it dawned upon me that
code.
It dawned upon me that I'm doing this in my own strength. And so this morning I did something, and I had to call you and actually just confess it.
Yes.
normally I'm rushing in here with, cup of coffee in one hand, keys in the other, turning on. It's incredibly fast paced. But there's a little recliner over there that I take a nap in. And I said, I need some strength. I'm tired. And I'm going to spend some time with God. So I got a chair and I kind of cast a gaze over to the right, and over to the right is some artifacts and some things, and among them is a book that JD sent me, that he authored one of the chapters, and it's a devotional book, and I thought, Lord, I'm going to spend some time with you. I'm going to charge my batteries first. And I picked up that book and read the first. It's funny, JD put, when people send you a book, they send you a book, marker, a bookmark thingy, it's got their name on it. Well, of course, this one but there are two of them. I thought, well, why two? Why is there two? The second one marked the chapter he wrote. So.
Yes, sir. Didn't want you to miss it, Coach.
So, folks, invest not only in others, but in you can't give to others that which you do not have. And I think that is your message, JD, is we are so busy discipling, we're so busy serving, we're so busy trying to earn God's favor, which we can't.
Yeah. Amen.
Maybe we need to just spend some time and let God pour into us.
Well, you're preaching tonight, Coach. You're right on.
There are times. And so your blog is well received, and I hope that it blesses others as much as it blesses me. And that's usually the way I feel after I read. And you're not alone. There are so many out there that God is using to bless people. God wants. I was compelled to make a post. I normally just post PJNet stuff, I don't. But I posted to the effect. Well, you can go read it yourself. Anyway, but God puts things on your heart, and when things get on your heart, act on them. Don't just harbor it. So often I hear people say, I really benefit from my quiet time with God. Well, I don't doubt the truth or the sincerity of what they're saying, but I always challenge them, saying, then why are you keeping that a secret? Get up here and tell it.
That's right. That's right. Get that lamp out from under that basket. Of course, brother. Yes, sir. That's right.
Well, that's great. Well, JD, you've blessed us tonight, as you always do. We're glad to see you back in the saddle, JD.
Thank you. It's great to be back with everybody. Just I thank everyone for their prayers and their continued prayers. I wish I could tell you all this health stuff was behind me, but still got a couple of rows to hoe. But we're gonna get there, and I appreciate everybody's prayers. Especially a shout out to my friend Mr. Ken Edwards for filling in for me last week. I wish he had got to heard the whole of the intro there, Coach, but that happens.
Well, but, I got ambitious. I hit the trigger too fast. That was my fault.
That's all right. He, like I said, I couldn't think of anybody better to talk about that topic than the man who taught me so much about it. Mm-hmm. So thank you, Mr. Ken. Coach, thank you for all that you do and all that you are, sir. God bless everybody. We'll see you next Thursday, okay?
Love you, JD. See you. Good to see you. What a blessing. This is too much fun. There must be something innately wrong with God allowing me to have this much fun serving in His kingdom. I'm the luckiest guy on the planet. Do you feel that way in your work, your service in the kingdom? If you don't, I hope that you will spend some time in prayer, and I hope that you find the joy that I have found, and that JD has found, and that Jackie Anders shared with us. Folks, if you are not hilariously joyful in serving the kingdom, well, it's my testimony that you can and should be. And if you're not, I hope that you will go to God and find that place of service that God has for you, because God's a good coach. He's got a place on the team for everybody. And it's great to know Him. It's great to have so many friends. Let me go down the roster in the pjnet.tv chat room. Ben is here. We've got Diane, JD's wife, is here. Hazards 4, let me give him a shout out. Tomorrow night, he runs the show. And I get the night off, and I really need that. But we have some special time. It starts at 9 p.m. Eastern. Now, we just do some interesting music on Friday night. He comes on with his presentation called My Perspective and Comment at 10 p.m. Eastern, and it has gotten to be quite a popular program. JD is also with us, and Monty is here. Monty just recently got a publishing contract. Rachel is here. She's kind of my prayer partner. She prays about it and lets me know, and I appreciate that. Our associate producer, Sunbelt Girl, who is busy scheduling new guests. Folks, we're booked well in advance. I'm so excited. And she makes all those things happen that need to happen. They don't just happen, folks. Somebody has to do this stuff, and she does. And Tammy from Georgia, our Georgia Peach cheerleader, is here amongst us. What a wonderful team. What a wonderful family. What a wonderful experience. I love every moment of it, and I thank you all for letting me live my dream, and I hope that you too reach that point. Folks, it's time for me to back out of here. I've got a lot of work to do. Can't wait to get to it. And before I leave, I would ask you to ask yourself 2 questions. First, what is the boldest thing that you've ever done for Jesus Christ? And second, when was that? Folks, there's joy in serving in the kingdom, but we can never allow ourselves to be satisfied with either answer to those questions.